Alrighty, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So I just made a video about, I built this freight buyer. So I'll put the video out. I'm saying that because we're gonna kind of talk about the freight buyer in this video, but not all of it. So that if there's some questions, that video hopefully will resolve that. So we have the freight buyer. We press a button. No, I'll just play through it. We press a button. It gets the name of the player when we press the button, and then it allows you to choose different types of freight and how many quantities of that freight you want, basically. Hello. Oh, that's my hot coffee. Here, I'll put that there for you. Okay. Cat in the lap. Cat in the lap. Do you want to? Where are you gonna sit? Are you gonna sit up there? Are you gonna sit half there? What's up? What's up, brother? You gonna sit like that? Yeah, you can sit just like that. Perfect. There we go. All right. So then we come over here, and we press the button, and that's our quantity: A, B, C, and D. And then here, eventually, you'll be able to choose. There will be like a next button, and you'll choose which one you want. Whoops. Yeah. So that's all. It spawns one different type. Right. And then it spawns it in as quantity A, quantity B, quantity C, quantity D. Now, why does that matter? Well, it matters because when you have, say, I don't know, you've done some agriculture and you got some hay on there, and you know you're traveling and you want to do a quick pickup and drop off, role play, whatever, and you only want a couple of units. Well, what this does is, so inside the units we have a screen interface, or there should be a screen interface. Let me see here. Trees, log. Copy that. Dot parent. Okay, so that'll be in the bottom. Here, let's just try this. Paste into. All right. Now we'll be able to see what I'm talking about. So when the player spawns the object into the workspace, it's always going to have the same name. Now, the freight type might be different. So one might be boxes, one might be liquids, one might be a container of frozen, and those will have individual values, but the name of the actual box isn't going to change. I'm not going to do frozen. This doesn't make sense. So you can have up to 4 types of freight. So when I say buy, there you go. It'll say, oh, workspace. It should have the player's name on there. Hey, Bim, it should have the player's name on there. So let's see. We need probably this box here. All right. There we go. Now it's going to... Oh. Oh, there it is. I found it. Ah, yes. Alright, so this is going to give me the script. Should be shot. Parent should be number 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 dot name. Okay, let's see if that works. Right, so Once you get the name of the player, then you're able to search the player. So when the player first joins the game and you have your player added script, that is where you're going to add values to the player. Number values is the easiest thing you want to do. So for example, I created a folder called leader stats that connects to this. We don't want to have everything that we track in the leader stats folder, because otherwise this leaderboard is going to stretch and be like this big, and it just doesn't make sense to do that. So you see here, this is what I created. We have money, we have the player's level, and we have experience. So every time you buy one of these objects and sell one of these objects, you could be getting experience, and you're going to have to be using money. So we need to set up a way to track that and save that data. So there you go. So you see how it says it's my freight A, and then when you delete it, so that's the object that it's looking for in the workspace. So right now, it's this box, and this box is going to have a value in it which says it's only worth so much. That we put in the, where's the freight buyer here? This one? Yeah, this is the freight buyer over here. So if I take this crate, and right now they have a preset value. The preset value is 1,000. There we go. Alright, so I just made 1,000 cash just for doing that. That's pretty good. So, and that's because inside the freight, let me explain this here. The buyer oh boy, the buyer right? So the number of logs dot value, and then what I just say is leader stats dot cash dot value plus 1,000. So all I'm saying is that if the object that hits it is called general freight and the key is called logs, then this is what you're going to give it. Okay, but we could change that key number. So for example, in the freight, that's the key there. You see how it's logs? This could be boxes, for example. And then in here, what we need to do is we need to make sure that we change this to boxes. And so long as it has that name, it'll do that. Now, that's one script, and we can call this boxes. And let's say we wanted to accept multiple types of cargo. We're going to need a couple of different of these scripts, okay? So what we need to figure out is what turns the script on. Is it the clicker that turns the script on? Or is it the activate button on? Yeah, loggoaway.activate. So this here would be boxes, for example. And then we would need one. Let's duplicate that. And let's call this one fish. All right, and then we have in here, do I have one set up for fish? I do, but is it in? Oh, it actually comes from fish. Because that's how it is over there. So you know what we can do? We can duplicate this crate here, and we can put it inside freight. And then now here, let's change one of these buttons. So this is gonna be this is gonna be part 2 on this thing here, where I'll need to change one of these buttons. So it just changes. So see, it says freight, and then the first button, instead of freight, it's gonna be fish. Is what will spawn. And then button number 2 will spawn freight. Alright, and then after all of this, I'll explain the data save and how that works. I guess I just want to show an example first of a typical transaction, and then why it's important to save and where you should save during that transaction. So in here, we need to change this key, and we can change it to, see how it says the logs? We can change that to fish, and then now in the code, we just have to make sure that in the code in fish, instead of boxes, it says fish. Now we should be able to sell both inside. Oh, I'm gonna have to move my leg just a second. I'm gonna have to move my leg. I'm so sorry. Oh, there you go. He always has to reposition. I'm sorry. He's like, I'm falling now. I know. All right. Just think if you were a lap dog. Hey, brother. Right, so we get our first quantity, legally. It's actually gonna be fish. So we got the fish there. Oh, and then we'll activate this here. So every time you click on it, it gets the name of the player, and then it saves the name of the player inside the machine, and that's how we're able to give the reward. Whoever clicks on the activate button gets the reward. So that's why probably what I'll do is I'll make private servers free, and then that way individuals, you know, you can just check it out. There, load up. Got our fish. Well, you know what? I don't think I told it to enable. Oh, we gotta do that one more time there, Bim. We gotta do it one more time, buddy. I can't ever do it the first time. It's got to be like the 10th time. So now we want to, when we press activate, we better make this boxes as well. So if you don't disable it, it'll just go transparent, but they'll still be able to use it. Fish enable equals true. This is just the script there. What we're doing is we're enabling it, and then we're disabling it when there we go. Perfect. Okay, let's save that. Where are we at? Oh, not too bad. Only 15 minutes and not too bad. So as you can see, it takes time to set up these transactions. It takes time to, because you got to think about what you want to do, and then you have to model it, and then you have to put in the code that you think is going to work, test it, and then obviously it doesn't do something, and then you think, well, maybe I want to do this instead. So then you have to change it, and that's all it is, just writing it out and then editing it and then editing it until you get the results that you want. That's all it is. Once you get the results you want, stick to it. Don't change it again, just stick to it. If you decide to change it, do it in another experience. All right, so we turn this on. We got our fish. All right, and this is active now, so now we should be able to sell the fish here. Oh, you know why? This isn't matter? Oh, I disabled it. Oh yeah, because when it turns on, it disables itself. But these should turn on. Hold on. Oh, because it's not called General Freight. This one's different. Because I wanted to have one fish seller, and then I wanted to have one freight buyer. But now that I see the way I'm doing it, I'm just going to have one for everything. And then that way, I don't have to worry about it. See, that's what happens, right? You decide halfway through you're going to change what you want to change. So now it needs to be called General Freight, the hit part. But the hit part on it is different. Fish box. It's called Fish Bin. Yeah, Fish Bin. There we go. So now we can have multiple, you can buy different types of freight from one station. I guess this is just going to be part 2 of the last video. Might as well be. You can buy freight from one station, and you can sell multiple types of freight to another station. So that's what we want. And then now it's open-ended to the player. They can go anywhere, they can sell anywhere. You know, we just have to make sure that the buy and sell are a certain distance apart. And that's it. That's all you can do. So I think the little truck is going to have a crane on it. The forklift is going to go with the flatbed. But the little truck, we can have a crane on it, and that can pick up these crates one at a time, and that's how we'll be able to use them. Alright, so we'll buy our fish. Hopefully we can sell them finally. Yeah, there you go, brother. Let me stretch out a little bit here. The cat's gone. Okay, so we'll come over here. This is development, right? This is development. Yay, we sold it. And we got $1,000 for it. Okay, perfect. So that worked. Then we'll come back over here. And this one will be the boxes. Now it doesn't matter the name of the boxes because we're doing it by the name of the hit part. We're not doing it by the name of the box. The only reason the box has to have a name is so when the player respawns, it deletes these boxes from the world and it doesn't slow down the world and it doesn't allow the player. Alright, that worked. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, so the system works. We can buy and we can sell. Oh boy, oh boy. Alright, so we can quickly go over setting up the code for the transaction now. Okay, so when the player joins the game, you're going to have a script, a player added script. So in there you want to say local data store service, and you want to get the data store service. Okay, that allows you to communicate with the data saves, which is on a Roblox server. And then what you need to do is you need to name your data store. In this case, it's champs data. And then you want to say data store, get data store, and then this variable here is the variable you're going to use for your data store. Okay, simple as that. So when the player joins the game, players.player added connect. We create a folder and we call it leader stats, local leader stats instance.new folder. And then we have folder.name, leader stats. And then we say leader stats.parent is the player, and that way it's not the workspace, it goes to the player. Inside there, we create these number values. In this case, they're integer values, which is probably better than, right? So they're only numbers. And we call one cash, we call one experience, we call one level. You can put anything you want here. You can only track money if you want to. And then you can create other folders this way, which aren't associated with leader stats. They could be called something else. They won't be tracked on the leaderboard when you join the game, but you'll be able to track those yourself and save and recall those values later on. Then what you need is what's called just a check, a data check. So where's our data A? Is there, okay? So these are like P calls. So what they do is basically, it's a verification on the transaction. All right, so we'll go over the first one and we'll go over the first one here. So this one, local data, and then we have success or failure. Okay, success or failure. That's, and then equals pcall function. So then what we need to do is we need to say our data. In this case, we're going to say champs data get async. So we're going to say connect to the data store, and then we're going to say get this number. And it's going to search for the player.user_ID, which is a value, and then it's going to search for this variable. So it's going to say, okay, we have a folder, it's called champs, and we're going to search it. Okay, we found this variable called cash champs. In there, we found this user ID. Okay, and then we're going to get his data, and then we say cash.value equals data, right? And so what that does, what's cash.value? Well, that's this here. Cash.name, cash.parent, that's this integer value. All right, so it's going to recall that value. So when you join the game, now we made 2 transactions and we made $2,000 and it didn't save because the sell point isn't connected yet. But I just want to show when you join the game, what it'll do. Holy moly, they're always long videos. I'm sorry. All right, so when you join the game, you see nothing. We don't have any. It didn't save any of that. So how do we get it to save? Well, we need to say set async. Instead of get async, we need to set async. Everything else is pretty much the same. There's just 2 things that we need to change, and that's it. So at the point of sale, where it says first thing we need to do is we need to tell it to connect to the data store. All right. And then because what we're doing here is we're changing the value of our leader stats to 1,000. And we want to save that transaction. So what we need to do is we need to say, see, we've created a function for cash, for experience, and for, what's this one here? Level. And then so on and so forth. Other ones, if you want trucks, if you want cars, you want to create a function for each, a check for each transaction type. And then what you do is you copy this. And we want to say, after it gives you the transaction, it's going to do this check. It's going to do this check. Now it needs the player.user_ID. So how do we get that? Well, we need to get that from here. The player.value. So we need to copy that. And we need to say there. And now cash value data. That's unknown global. So now we need to reference cash. So we need to say local cash equals player.value. That's the player's name. Leader stats dot cash, and it's going to be capital cash dot value. And that should be right, because you see here it says game.players find first child name, and we've said name is equal to script.parent.parent.screen.player.value. So we're going to try it down here to see if we could just do it that way and see if that works. And then it should say transaction saved. There was an error with your data. Okay, so let's see if that's going to work. And it'll save for the boxes. We're just trying this out with the boxes. I know it seems a little complicated, but I don't really know what the p-call, I mean, I don't like the, I've never gone to school to study functions, so I don't have anybody that I can say, hey, why does this type of function exist? And all that sort of stuff. All I know is that it checks the transaction, and if the transaction doesn't go through, it won't save. So that's why it's important. And if you write it out that way, oh, you know what? It's not actually going to go through because I said get async and get async, but we need to set async. Let me show you what I mean. So on the transaction, we're saying get async. We need to set this to set async. We need to say set async, and then we need to say it's going to set it to cache.champs. But what is it going to set? It is going to set this right here. This is where it's going to save the value, and this is the value that it's going to save. So when you retrieve the data, it only needs this part. It only needs to say, okay, here's the player, here's the data I need to receive. But when you save it, you need to say, here's the player, and here's the value that we need to save. Now let's see if that works. If it doesn't, I'll have to load up Project Alpha, because it's the way I did it in Project Alpha and it worked. The problem with Project Alpha is I made that P call on too many transactions, and some transactions fire two different events at the same time, and I put a check on both those events. So it just bogs the server down on every transaction, which was silly. That's why it was called Project Alpha, and it was never meant to really be anything great. It was just kind of a test, right? So, but sometimes to test those things, you have to script it. You gotta learn somehow, right? So we make mistakes, and that's how we learn. We learn by our mistakes. Okay, so now if I buy the boxes, I should get money, and then it should save the money. Or it'll give me an error. Now these boxes you'll be able to put on the trailer. 4 of those will fit on the trailer. And there'll be different types. That's what I mean. There'll be different types. There'll be fluids and whatever. And that's how we'll track the value of them. There we go. Oh, see, it says there was an error with your data. Attempt to nil with string. The boxes logs go away 18. Right here. Set async. So either script.parent.parent.screen.player.value. Or we'll have to do it like this. And we'll do this. And then for this one here, we'll have to say this here. Right? Game players, find first child, player.name. Whatever that means. Alright, let's find it. Basically what it does is it searches the game, right? And it says, okay, instead of going game.player.localplayers, you have to say game.players. Okay, who's the player you're looking for? My lunch is ready. I didn't think this was going to take too long. So there we go. See, leaderboard loaded. So it's getting the leaderboard and it's saying you have no money. All right. We have no money. We have no money. It's just in the selling. The error is in that P call. It's just how I have it written. So I just need to check and the other game, but it'll take probably longer to check than it will to figure it out. Seems to be how things go. All right, so we do this here. Perfect, so I've got my money, but it says there was an error with your data. Attempt to index number with user ID, so I can't find my user ID that way. I don't know why. I can't get my... Oh, that's why. Because we just need that, name.userid. Perfect. Let's see if that works. So you see, you think you have it all written and that you have all the code that you need, but then when you combine the code and apply it, it can change. You might need to change a line here or there. So it's not always that easy, but the hard part is creating the base code. Once you have that base code, you can build off of that. You can expand it. You can, that's like your library that you can look back on. So that's, again, that's what I hope you're learning is through watching these videos, is you're learning that and you're seeing that I've built up a library of base code, and I'm just using that to reference when I make a game, when I make it a function, something. I'm just looking at that base code. I'm going, okay, well, this is how I understand it to work. Can I make it work here as well? Those are just the basic questions that I'm asking. And how can I make that work? And so what we do is we sit down and we start typing and we start playing around and saying, okay, well, can it work this way? Can it work that way? Sometimes you have to try. I mean, you're watching it right now. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it doesn't happen right away. It takes a while to figure it out. And I mean, that's kind of the... Oh, it did. It worked. Attempt nil with cash. Okay, so the first part, line 22. I wonder if that's... oh no, that is Fox's line 22. Right, so you see how I have it written out? Okay, it doesn't like that. It has to be like this. Interesting, huh? So you need to get the name of the player and you need to store that. But then to search for the player, you can't search from that value to find the player. You have to go game.players, find first child, the name. And the name is the value of that. And that's the only way it wants to work. Otherwise, it's just not saving. So that's that. there's no way for me to explain this. That's why sometimes it's easier for me to build it and just to show you the code and say, this is the code that I have. This is how it works. You're watching me do the run through it, do the debugging, and hopefully that allows you to you know, solve your own problems and say, hey, yeah, you know what? I see what he's doing there. I see what he's trying to do there, the values that he changed. And it kind of gives you an idea of the limits, right? The thoughts of, okay, well, how many ways can we rewrite this function that are going to work for us, that could work for us, right? So as you saw there, we need to get the name of the player. So how do we do that? We have to click on a button or activate a prompt. Then once we have the name of the player, we can then search the game for the player and any values that we want to change on the player. And that's how all this works. It's similar to how we did the fishing system there. It's the same thing, except the values are on the boat and then the values are on the crane. And we transfer the values from the boat to the crane, and that allows us to do stuff. This is the same thing. We're transferring values from here to the player. All right, so let's see if this is going to work, hopefully. And then attempt to index nil with value. Uh-oh. Line 23. Cache.value equals data. Now, I think this needs to say data equals cache.value. Oh, no. No, you see that? I already have the value here. So what I'll do is I'll take that out and we'll say cache.value. Right? Because see, that's where we got the error. All right, now let's save it again. And then we got to test it again. What do we add here? Oh man, 37 minutes, another hour. My lunch is sitting there getting cold for you guys. That's all right. And then I'll have to do this to the next script. To the next script, I'll have to upgrade it as well and make it save. But now we're just testing. As you can see, we're debugging just to get to it to save. It sounds easy. Yeah, I want to buy it and sell it, and I want that transaction to save. Well, this is the trouble you got to go through. But these are things that people that enhance gameplay. People can come back, and their data is always going to be saved. So when I play a game and I spend Robux, and then I come back months later and I don't have the things that I bought, I have to buy them again. You know that it's a scam. It's not really worth playing. Because even my very first game, if you had purchased anything, it's run through the game passes. So as soon as you join the game, you'll have those items. You'll always have those items, right? Unless Roblox burns down and they lose the servers, but then it's on them, right? So yeah, if you ever purchase something in a game, and then months later you come in and they say, well, you've never purchased it. They're either their data is corrupt or something's wrong, or they just don't quite understand. So there. So you see, I drove into it and nothing happened. Yeah, because it should always save. It should always save. So then we do this and we activate it. And then there we go. And look at that, transaction saved. All right. So I got 3,000 that time. Okay. So now if I leave the game, so there's two ways to do the saving. You can save when the player leaves the game, or you can save during the transaction. I rather save during the transaction instead of when they leave the game. Just in case there's any discrepancies, this is the safest way to do that. So now if I rejoin the game, I guess it saved all those transactions. So now if I rejoin the game, we should have, it should say leaderboard loaded, which it does, right? Leaderboard XP, leaderboard level, leaderboard, and then we should have 3,000. And we have 3,000. Look at that. And it's saved. So now you can start to track anything that you want, any data you want. Just make sure it's numbers. And that's pretty much that. And now it can save. Now players can leave the game. They can come back. So what I wanted to check out was, yeah, you see, it was only 1,000, so it actually did save those transactions. Or no, I need to put a weight in here. I should say weight, and then I should say yeah, because here's the problem with this is that every time the crate hits it, it's gonna give you that value, right? So it tries to destroy it right away. Yeah, maybe we should do that. Maybe we should wait. 0.1. That's the dangerous part about doing this kind of stuff, is if you don't have the latency properly. We could do this. We could say script dot enabled equals false, and this is why I've been doing this. Script dot enabled equals false, and then what we'll have to do is on the screen here. Yeah, you know what? The activate button will have to come back. We'll have to say script dot parent dot screen dot frame, is it? Dot screen dot surface GUI dot frame dot activate. Is it enabled or is it disabled? Dot visible. Dot visible equals true, because we have to be able to see the button again. And then what happens when we press the button again? It'll reactivate the script. Yeah, that works. And then that means we'll have to make that perfect. Okay, so then when they hit it, we'll have to say script parent dot screen or we could just say script dot parent dot transparency equals 1. That works. Because the log go away is this part here. Oh, and then other part as well. Script parent other part transparency equals 1. There we go. And then when they press the activate button, oh boy. See, so there's always you put in a little bit of code and you work on it and you say, okay, this kind of functions the way I want. And then you have to play with it and you have to say, does it really function the way I want, or are there additional changes that I can make, right? And then you have to look at it from all those angles. It's like, okay, how does it look when I press the buttons? How does it sound when I press the buttons, right? What do the animations do when I press the button? All those questions you need to be asking yourself, because this is what the player is going to be thinking while they're playing the game, right? And then you need to think, okay, where should I add the sounds? Where do I need to change the visual cues? Where do I need to activate and deactivate scripts, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this comes on. And then activate does that. Okay, that's actually kind of cool even. And then I might add this to the buyer part of it over here. So as you can see, I mean, there's at times it seems like you can just get lost in all the things to do. But what's important is to lay that foundation. Once you get that solid foundation in the game, you can easily expand on the concept, right? So in the when you're initially building it, try not to get lost too much and just try to focus on the concept. Yeah, there we go. Now I only got 1,000 for that instead of like 5,000. So then if I press activate again, it comes back. Perfect. And then it should have reactivated the scripts. And then I can't buy that unless I press the delete button. And then I can buy it. Ooh, you see how dangerous that can be? So now I have to go back through here and I have to reset that up. I have to reset that up, turn it off and turn it on again. Something like that to reset it. Probably in the button there. There you go. Now we're able to get our crate. And we're able to come over here. And we're able to sell it. Look at that. And it should save. If I stop it and leave, when we come back, we should have 5,000 big ones. Here, well, let's get 5 seconds of video for the end of the video here, finally. All right, I'll join again. And then as you can see, there's still a little bit of more tweaking and playing around, you know, as you add additional cargo types to the spawner. You'll need to play with them and make sure that they function also and do the things that you want them to do. So yeah, that's pretty much that. Thank you so much for watching. This is kind of part 2 and kind of a data. I'll just put this up as its own video, as a data store video. There we go. 5,000 big ones. And then we could give experience, you know, on that, and then you can track other metrics through the experience and through the other stuff, and whatever else. And that's basically that in a nutshell. How we go through. So let's quickly go through that one more time so we all understand it, and then we'll end the video and I can eat lunch. So what we do is we create a script called player added. When the player joins the game, we want to make sure that we connect to our data store. Then we're going to create a folder. We're going to call it leader stats, and we're going to create the values that we want tracked in there. Then we need to create a pcall function, which is just like a check. Hey, did this transaction actually happen or did it not? And what that's going to do is we need to make sure that we're using data A. This is very important. Data B. This is very important. Data C. Every time you reference this transaction to get the value and to save the value, you have to make sure it tracks as data A, B, and C. Just like that. Cash champs. Cash champs, make sure your variables are the same, all that sort of stuff. So then every time the player does a transaction, this is where it is. Now, we can expand on this. We can go to Roblox, and we can go to our game. We'll go Project Alpha, and then we can go to View Analytics on our game. And we can say, okay, we can look at, where is it here? Funnels. This is where funnels come into play. We can say view events. Okay, let's get started. Oh, we need to add this code to our games. So we can get the analytics service. Okay. And then we can just start to build a funnel now. This is where that happens. Funnel section ID. I don't know. I'll have to read through this, and maybe in the next video we'll actually cover it. But this is where you're going to start to add that stuff, right? Economy events. Anytime there's a transaction that takes place, right here, and you can track the amount. So that way, when you're looking at your statistics and you're looking at people who are playing your game, you can see what they're doing and where they're spending it, and that just sort of helps you as a creator know kind of where your game works and where it doesn't work, where it needs improvement, where it doesn't need improvement. But we'll expand on this in the next one. I'm going to eat lunch because I'm hungry. Thank you all so much for watching. That's going to do it in this one for data and data saves. Thank you so much, and I'll see you then.